Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be doing slightly different. I'm not on camera this time, I'm doing this just on the mic. I want to talk a bit about the Spider-Man, MCU, Disney, Sony debacle that's currently going on, because this is a situation where everyone is kind of losing, nobody really understands what's going on, and people are constantly talking about it online, giving out false information, and I kind of want to just come on here and talk about my view on the whole situation, how I've interpreted it, because it's quite a clusterfuck of a situation. So let's just dive straight into it. So, basically what happened was we had a meeting between Disney and Sony regarding the rights to Spider-Man, and of course Disney asked for more money and Sony backed out of the deal and took Spider-Man back for them. Now, not took it back because obviously they already own the rights, but they basically took Spider-Man out of the MCU deal that they had with Disney. So the way this has always worked is obviously Disney struck a deal with Sony to allow them to use the character of Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This has led us to having Spider-Man appear in Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and of course we had his two standalone movies, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. So this deal has been very successful for not just Marvel but Sony as well. Sony has managed to create it's managed to have its highest grossing film of all time in the form of Spider-Man Far From Home this year, which has not only grossed $1 billion, but like I say, has become the highest grossing film in Sony's lineup, which is very, very, very good. Now, Marvel have basically also had a lot of success with this. Spider-Man has become an extremely successful character for them, and that has been very exciting to see. Spider-Man as a character lost a lot of steam after the Amazing Spider-Man franchise over at Sony, so this revival that the character has had over at Marvel Studios in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been very successful for them as well. I think Spider-Man is really one of the most fan-favorite characters right now in the MCU, and that is purely down to Marvel Studios and how they've handled the character and Tom Holland's portrayal of the character on screen. So because of this, Marvel had, well, not Marvel, but Disney had a meeting with Sony to discuss the Spider-Man deal that they currently have, and basically the way it's always worked is you had Sony who would give them the distribution rights and they would give them the marketing, but on the other hand, Marvel and Marvel Studios, they would make the movie and they would completely make it their own, blah, 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 and they would receive 5% of all the box office total. They would receive 5% of that cut, and they would also receive 100% of the merchandise sales, and then Sony would get the rest of it. So that's how it's always kind of worked. You had Sony getting 95% of the profit, Marvel getting 5%, or Disney getting 5%. So that's how the deal has always kind of been. So Disney actually went to Sony to say, right, we actually want 50% of the profits, and alongside of that, we will also co-fund 50% of the projects as well. Not just our Spider-Man movies, but we'll also co-produce the other Spider-Man related movies that you're doing over at Sony, such as Venom 2, Morbius, the Craven movie. All those movies will also be co-produced by Marvel Studios, and we'll do 50-50 shares on all the profits. And basically Sony was not a fan of that idea. They backed out completely and said, no, we're not doing that. And, the rights for Spider-Man are now taken away from Disney and Marvel Studios. Now, people have blown this out the water saying, Sony are the bad guys, they're ridiculous, why would they do this, this is just horrendous, hashtag boycott Sony, all this. And it's absolutely ridiculous, because a 50-50 co-financing deal, while sounds very, very fair from a base level standpoint, from a business standpoint, that is absolutely ridiculous. There is no company on this earth, no studio within the film industry that would take that deal. It is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that Marvel went in there and said they want to do a 50-50 deal, I think is quite frankly insulting. They should have never have gone with that deal, and I think it's a ridiculous ask to say to Sony, we want 50-50 on this, because it's just an insane amount. Because you look at Sony, they are obviously gaining a lot of profit from these Spider-Man movies over at Marvel. And I understand the fact that Marvel Studios should get a bit more of a cut for what they do. I personally believe they deserve more than that, given how much they've done for the character of Spider-Man and also how much money they essentially make for Sony. It's a very, very, big task that they've undertaken, and one that they've pulled off successfully. I do feel like 5% is very low for the work that they do. However, what you've got to understand is when you look at it from Sony's point of view, is that Sony look at it and go, okay, this is our character. We own the rights to it. Whether you agree with Sony owning the rights or not, fact of the matter is, they own the rights to the Spider-Man character. They're not going to say, right, you can take 50% of all of our profits of the money that you make off of our character that we own. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it just leads to Sony making less money than they would do otherwise. And obviously, of course they would. That's kind of how that deal would work. But when you look at it even from a retrospective standpoint, it doesn't make any sense why Sony would want to take that deal. It doesn't make any sense why any company would take that deal. So the fact that Marvel went to them and said, right, we're going to have a 50-50 deal, it's just ridiculous to me, and I feel like Sony have just completely called their bluff. Now, I think both companies are in the wrong when it comes to this situation. There's nobody who is on the right side of this, and there's no winner out of this. Sony doesn't win out of this, Disney doesn't win out of this, and us, the fans in particular, do not win out of this. What has happened here completely, you can read the script completely. Disney have gotten very cocky and very big-headed and have gone to Sony and said, well, they owe us a lot. They're not going to say no to us. No one says no to Disney, so we're going to make a deal that's completely unfounded and go and try and, win them over. So they go over, right, Sony want 50-50 deal on this, and Sony have gone, right, okay, screw you, we're taking Spider-Man back, we've called your bluff. That's exactly what has happened here. This is the exact situation. Disney got cocky, Sony got insecure. And I feel like this deal is just absolutely insane. Seeing that, like I say, Disney was so cocky in this situation to ask for that, and Sony were insecure enough and bold enough to actually just take that character that we've all been enjoying for the last few years and just take them away and take them out of their grasp and take them out of the hands of Kevin Feige, and Kevin Feige is now no longer allowed to produce those films. So it's kind of ridiculous to me that this has happened. The fact that Sony, not only do they, like I say, I think Marvel should get slightly more money for what they do. They do a lot for Sony, and I feel like, 5% is not that much. But the fact that they asked for 50-50 is ridiculous. But there is a whole reason why they are doing this. These negotiations are clearly still happening. These are clearly negotiation tactics. What you do in a negotiation is you go in, you ask for a high price, and you whittle it down. 50-50, as I said, extremely high. So Sony are very right in their decision to not accept. Now, Marvel should come back at this point and say, right, we're going to go for a lower deal. There are rumours that apparently Sony offered them a 70-30 deal. That's not confirmed, but, that was a rumour. Now, 70-30 sounds pretty fair. I still think that's a bit on the pricey side. I think Marvel should aim for a bit more of a 20-25 deal with Sony. That would work a lot better and would be a lot more beneficial to both of them. Because, like I say, nobody wins in this situation because Sony needs the MCU, and Sony needs the MCU to keep making money, so it makes them money. Marvel needs Spider-Man in their universe because not only is he a key part of the cinematic universe at this point, but they have so many storylines they need to wrap up. The big cliffhanger at the end of Far From Home will never be resolved if we don't have another Spider-Man film. And then, in particular, us, the fans, lose out because we love Tom Holland's portrayal of Spider-Man. We love Spider-Man within the MCU. So to have him removed from that with just over money, it's a lose-lose-lose on all fronts. So they really need to sort this deal out. I believe they will sort this deal out. Like I said, I believe this is complete negotiation tactics. I feel like we will see in a few days this issue maybe resolved. Maybe by D23. D23 is this weekend. I'm going to be making videos on D23, so hopefully we might have an update by then. But I feel like we'll definitely see these negotiations continue, and we will see these worked out. Because like I say, it's a lose-lose-lose for everyone. No one's winning out of the situation. A lot of people thinking, oh, Sony's winning out of this. Sony is not winning whatsoever. Sony is maybe losing the most out of everybody, because especially out of Disney, they're definitely losing more than Disney are. So it's ridiculous to me that they kind of, have this deal going on. So, we're definitely going to see a resolution to this. It's not going to last forever. I'm saying this to everyone right now. If you're worrying about the future of Spider-Man in the MCU, I wouldn't do it. I think that Spider-Man will be absolutely fine. We will see Tom Holland reprise the role of Spider-Man within the MCU. We will get a third movie with him, carrying on the story from Far From Home. We'll likely see John Watts return to direct that film. And I feel like we will see that movie, sort of in 2021, 2022 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, either in Phase 3, Phase 4 or Phase 5 of the MCU, depending on where they want to put it. So I feel like this deal, it is ridiculous. It's an ongoing thing, and everybody is at fault here. Everybody has their good points and their bad points within this disagreement, but it will all get resolved, and I think it will all be fine in the end. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot. And share this video with any other movie fans who you think may enjoy this content. And also, what is your opinion on this Spider-Man situation? Make sure you leave all your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more movie reviews and movie-related videos like this, be sure to subscribe. And I hope to see you guys again next time.